Putin just laughing on Trump. He is using all these negotiations as a trap for Trump, for our European partners.
Defence officials in Britain and France are pressing other European nations for more detail on contributions to a Ukrainian peacekeeping force. The Sunday Times reports their aim is to ensure President Trump ensures robust security guarantees. In Ukraine itself, it is Independence Day, marking 34 years since the nation left the Soviet Union. Well, let's speak now to Hanna Hopko, who is former chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Ukrainian Parliament. Good morning to you.
Good morning from Kyiv.
Thank you for being with us. Let's begin by talking about Independence Day. And we know that the US envoy Keith Kellogg is being sent by President Trump to Ukraine to mark this important day. How significant do you think that move is by President Trump?
So, of course, we expected President Trump in Ukraine. And, of course, it would be better to see him not in Alaska with Putin, but in Crimea with Ukrainian president and with the Sixth Fleet of the United States. What Obama didn't do in 2014 when Russia invaded Ukraine by the illegal annexation of Crimea. So, but of course, Ukraine stands as a united, independent and determined nation, and we keep our struggle, which became a global symbol of courage, freedom and democracy. And I think it's in the American interest to guarantee that Ukraine is defeating Russia, because Russia is acting not alone. And Russia, China, North Korea, de-sovereignization of Belarus happened. So for American leadership, it's crucially important to make Ukraine a success story, and also to learn from Ukraine how to counter Russian cyber attacks, Russian drones, and North Korean, Chinese, and all these horses of apocalypse instruments against democracy and against us, because in the modern warfare, everything changed. And I think all Western nations which are helping Ukraine, we have to become like one team fighting against biggest threat against all of us.
Do you feel progress is being made towards a ceasefire? And I'm not just talking about the Alaska meeting, obviously the meeting between President Zelensky and Donald Trump in the Oval Office recently. Also things like the discussions around security guarantees amongst European nations. Do you feel that Ukraine is edging closer towards a ceasefire?
Let's be frank, there is no real ceasefire readiness from Russian side. Nothing changed from 2014, 2016, 2018 until 2022 when the full-scale war started. Because Putin's goal is not to end the war. And all these dances around or appeasement of Putin that let's flatter Russia, proposing some territorial concessions, or let's push Ukraine for compromises, will lead all of us to bigger continental war. And I remember, as a former head of the Foreign Relations Committee, all these efforts of peaceful settlement through political diplomatic dialogues. More than 200 meetings happened within Minsk Trilateral Contact Group in different places. But what we are now facing, the genocidal war within Russian imperialism. So, and Trump behavior actually to help Putin, what we are reading from some American press, that Pentagon has quietly blocked Ukraine's long-range missile strikes on Russia. So instead of imposing tougher sanctions, what Trump promised. So my question is, Trump is shifting from mediator to what? To help Russia to avoid collapse of their economy, because Russia is really facing enormous cracks within their economic, financial systems, and not to impose tougher sanctions, new sanctions, or even secondary sanctions, and not to increase pressure on Russia. It means to give Russia more chances to keep terrorizing Ukrainians daily and deprive us with our response.
We know that polls in Ukraine say that people want the war to come to an end. Do you feel then, from what you said there, do you feel that actually the way to bring the war to an end is through those greater economic sanctions, greater financial pressure, but also being able to attack Russia inside Russia? Not just defend, but attack.
So yeah, Ukrainians proved that like spiderweb operation, which was successfully done by the State Security Service of Ukraine, and how we destroying oil refineries inside Russia. So we are capable to keep attacking Russia at their territory. And it's not like a year ago the Kursk operation happened. But the question is here, what is the strategy of West to defeat Russia? And why I'm telling defeat Russia? Because without justice, without accountability, Russia will just restore its economic problems and keep attacking Baltic states. What's already happening with the Russian Shaheeds in the territory of Poland, and also Russian drones in Lithuania, which are the member states of NATO. So hybrid, and not hybrid, but also drone attacks on the soil of NATO happened already. Remember, Biden said NATO should be protected. So actually NATO, with the Article 5, which never proved at the European continent, just a fake or what? So NATO is not capable to defend its members from Russian missiles, like it happened with Romania in 2023, or like it happened recently with Poland.
Do you worry, though, from what you're saying there, that sounds like the strategy of being able to attack Russia inside Russia, of being able to impose greater economic pressure on Russia. That doesn't sound like that is a strategy that is going to bring an end to the war anytime soon. And I'm just wondering if there is an appetite within Ukraine for that to continue. Obviously, no one wants to concede any land to Putin in Ukraine. But is there not also a reality, and is there also not a reality here that Donald Trump may get bored? He may not keep providing weapons and intelligence long term for this war?
So what I would like to ask you using this interview. So your government, I'm very thankful, but they should confiscate Russian sovereign asset. Belgium, EU they should be like a team of confiscation of Russian sovereign assets. It's 300 billion. This will be extra pressure on Russian economy, which really needed. And this would be a very strong political move to show Trump when he is reluctant to impose sanctions. Europe understands the threat and acting, not just forming the coalition of willing, which is not willing to increase pressure and make total economic isolation. So which is really important. And coming back to your question about Ukrainian readiness to end the war. Yes, we are a nation of heroes. When CIA predicted us 3 days, it's already almost 4 years of genocidal war, and we keep fighting. So we don't want to accept any territorial concessions without punishment of Russia, without justice for accountability for war crimes, crimes against humanity. We need our kids to be back. It's more than 20,000 of abducted kids. As a mother of 14-year-old daughter, I'm crying knowing what's happening in the hearts of the fathers and mothers of those families who lost their kids because they were forcefully moved to Russia. It's unacceptable. Tell me, is Trump managed to deliver even this condition for Putin to return back kids? So Putin just laughing on Trump. He is using all these negotiations as a trap for Trump, for our European partners. Let's be serious. Trump is also making pressure on the Europeans, and us is achieving nothing. So just allowing Putin to keep terrorizing all of us, and actually China is observing, studying, researching, and preparing for bigger fight, not just with America.
Hanna Hopko, thank you so much for talking to us. I'm really grateful to you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. God bless you and Ukraine.
Thank you. That is Hanna Hopko, former chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Ukrainian Parliament, talking about total economic isolation is required of Russia. We've talked about this on the programme before, haven't we? The seizing of Russian assets and actually just spending the money, not just saying we're taking it, not just saying, oh, we might spend the interest on it, just absolutely seizing all of that money, spending that money on the war effort. Hanna Hopko there saying that actually that is what needs to happen. There needs to be greater pressure put on that. Well, I mean, it's a struggling economy, let's be honest. And lots of people saying, actually, Russia is struggling already. If those secondary sanctions were put on, if Trump put more pressure on, if the Europeans put more pressure on, could that change the course of the war?